What up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your guy. Hit the keys. Here today to do a quick review and demonstration over Graindad by Bytes. Graindad is basically, as the name would imply, a granular multi-effect plugin. Spoiler alert, it's kind of fire. Make sure if you guys do like this content though, you drop a whole elbow on that like button, hit subscribe and that notification bell so every time we bring you guys a new video, you can be the first to see. But let's go ahead and get right into the review.
Hit the key.
All right, guys. So when you open up the plugin, it's gonna look like this. As you can see, it's got a whole lot going on in this GUI. So as we look here at the top, we have our buffer size or our buffer window right here. And this right here is basically the incoming signal. Below that, you have your grains. So as you see, it's consistently moving. You know, it's basically the travel path of your grains. Below that, you have a main menu, and then you have your harvester menu. So this is just an XY axis. And basically, you can draw the path in which you want this to orbit. And, you know, obviously, these effects will affect it differently as it goes through its orbit. Let's go ahead and go back over here to this main menu. So right here, we have density. This is the rate at which grains are generated. And then you have different modes in which you control right here as well. When we look down here at the bottom, this right here lets us control what we want to do. So we can either make it be, you know, bipolar, unpolar, unipolar, envelope, LFO, mod sequencer, harvester, key range, so on and so forth. And obviously, as you can see down here, that will be controlled right here. This level will control how much of the effect is taking place, if that makes sense. Next to that, we have grain size, position, pitch, speed, and jitter. And all this is going to control the way that the grains sound. Next to that, we have our modulation. Then we have our filter modulation right next to that with some controls. We have reverb. We have dry wet. What's nice about the dry wet on this is that you can turn the dry all the way off, and then you can turn the effects up, and you'll just get the sound of the effects with none of the dry signal. That's pretty cool too. You have your grain pan. Down here at the bottom, you got delay, reverb, filter, LFO, envelope. You also have a sequencer right here, and then you have a different sequencer right here as well. And this sequencer is nice because you can take steps out, and every time that it hits on the stack, the grains will hit, if that makes sense. So I made a little sample beat as always. On this sample beat, I use Graindad on like everything. I use it on a bunch of different automations, all kinds of different stuff. So there's parts on the main beat where I automate it. I use it on the piano. I use it on the guitar. I use it on the vocal. I also use it on the drum bus as well. I do want to say up here, the CPU is kind of high, but it's not necessarily this plugin. I don't feel like this plugin has a high CPU usage. On this, I'm using Analog Labs, and that patch taking up 30 on the CPU. And then my Omnisphere patch that I'm using is an ARP. That's like another 22. And then Arcade typically takes up a lot for me too. So that's really what's bumping up the CPU on this. But beats not all the way mixed down. The only effect that I used besides the soft clipper was Graindad. Let's go. All right, guys, so that's the little sample beat that I put together today. So what I kind of want to do is I want to go through what I actually use Graindad on so I can explain that to you a little more. I'm not even going to hold y'all. This isn't going to be like a full demonstration where I go through every dial and control because this is a lot. But Bytes does have a tutorial on their site, and it's like an 1.5 hour long tutorial. So do what you want with that information, but I want to talk about what I like about this plugin and what I used it for. So the first thing I want to talk about is I use Graindad on the master track. And on the master track, basically I use that for the turnaround to kind of get it going, to give it a little switch up. So like right when the chorus dropped, boom, it gave it that little stutter. So as we look here, the effect that I use was basically this filter train delay. And that's what's giving it this little stutter right here on this automation clip. So let's go ahead and listen to that real quick. So that little stutter right there was the effect from Graindad. And then I also used it on the piano as well. So on the piano, what I did with it was I automated the clip at the beginning, and then I took it off at the chorus because in the chorus it was too much with the vocals and everything like that. So I automated it and I had it go off in the chorus. So I'm gonna play it through so that you can hear what it sounds like with the Graindad on there and without the Graindad on there. So that's with the Graindad on there. So now I'm just going to start it right here, and then this is without the Graindad on there, so you can just hear the regular piano, and then I'm going to let it go back into the Graindad so you can hear it again. So it's all that extra. It's just giving it so much more life to that piano. So now I want you to hear what I did to it on the guitar. So we'll go ahead and we'll play the guitar without it first, and then I'll turn the guitar on so that you can hear what it sounds like. So this is what the guitar sounded like without the Graindad on there. So super basic guitar. Now once we throw Graindad on there, it's gonna sound like this. You know what I'm saying? So super nice. So now what I want to do is I have it on this flute too as well. And it's very light on the flute. But the flute did sound like this without the Graindad on there. Let me go ahead and highlight this section real quick. So the flute did sound like this without the Graindad on there. So a super basic flute, but once I threw Graindad on there, I got it to sound like this. And so as you can see there, it's just giving that flute a little more movement. And realistically, it's like all of these different instances of Graindad I put on there is really what makes the beat, sound the way it did. It just made everything sound so much fuller and filled out the beat so much more. So now let's go ahead and see what it sounded like on these vocals. So I grabbed these vocals from Arcade, and they sounded like this. And so then once I threw the Graindad on there, I got it to sound like this. So it just made them sound different. What I would typically do though is I would automate that maybe at the end of each phrase so it just gives it the stutter. But for this, I just left it on there because I just, I guess I was lazy. Reasons, right? So let's go ahead and hear what I did with it on the drums. So on the drums, I just wanted to give the drums a little different feel here when I started the verse. So basically, the drums did sound like this before I threw the Graindad on there. Some basic drums. But once I threw Graindad on there, I got it to sound like this. You know what I'm saying? Just super nice for just a little bit of variety and to make the beat sound a little bit different. So now we're going to go ahead and hop back over here into this piano and we're going to check out Graindad a little bit more. So I've got a new instance of Graindad right here from the scratch. We're going to find a little preset, mess with a little bit of preset, mess with some of these controls. I kind of want to mess with the harvester first because that's like my favorite feature of this because it's just solid, So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this section right here. We're going to hop back into this, and this is what the piano sounded like again without Graindad on there. All right, so now let's go ahead and open this back up. Let's go ahead and find a preset that's all right. We're just going to pick one at random. There is a ton of different presets in this. So there's some subtle presets and there's definitely some extreme presets as well, but that's what you expect with the granular effect. So as you can see here, there's a ton there, a ton there. So there's hundreds and hundreds of presets. I don't know the exact number, probably should know that information, but I don't have it. But let's go ahead and come over here and let's just find, I don't know, regular random preset. So now this is what we have. All right, so pretty solid. So now what we can do is, what I like is to come over here to this harvester. Now with this harvester, you can do a few different things. You can click here to create your breakpoints. So bam, you see I'm just easily clicking these breakpoints in. Now if I push play, and now if I push this right here, it's going to travel on that path. So that's pretty solid, you know what I mean? And then you can still move the nodes if you want to, you can change them however you want to. You can basically do whatever it is that you want with that. So now what we can do too is we can hit this mod mix. We can turn this up a little bit and now see what it sounds like. So then down here, they also have speed for it as well. So we can turn the speed up and down if we want to. So that's pretty nice. Depending on how you get it all set up, you can make the sounds and the grains evolve how you want to. So that's nice. There's also this randomize button down here, so you can randomize the speed. So it's going to sound different to each node. That's nice. So that's a nice feature as well. So let's go ahead and hop back over to the main menu. So then here on this page, as you're looking at the density control, with the density control, like I said earlier, this is basically the rate at which grains are generated. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it down here. You're going to hear the grains go a little faster. And when I come down here, they're going to go a little bit slower. So you can hear the difference there. We also have different modes over here. So boom, let's go ahead and hit this. That's solid, how it's chopping that up. That's nice. And then you have pitch over here, so you can make it go from pitch. So then what else you can do is right here, you can change what you want it to do. So whether you want it to go to a mod sequencer, to an envelope, wherever it is that you want it to go. We'll go ahead and hit it to the mod sequencer for a second. So with this too, you can change the slope or you can change the steps. And then if you double click in it, boom, just like that, you can see you can bring that up and make it bigger as well. And then you can control the effect, the amount with the lever right here. So then next to that, we have grain size. Grain size works hand in hand with density basically. So like, let's go ahead and turn this back over here to ABS. Now, if I push play, all right, but if I turn this down, it's going to make the grain size shorter. And if I turn it up, it's going to make them longer. You can affect the speed, the position, the pitch, and all that. We'll just briefly hit these controls. So as you can tell, you can get some crazy sounds. Then next to that, you have your filter controls, your reverb, and your delay down here. Now, what's cool about this too as well is you have this dry wet. I was talking about this earlier. So now if I push play and I pull the dry all the way up, underneath that, I have an effects level. I can turn the effects up and just use the effects. You might never do it, but it is something that's there. So it's pretty solid. I do want to go through some of the presets for you guys, just so you guys can hear what it sounds like. And see, just like that, you can mess with the dry wet, the effects level, to tune in, or basically to dial in the sound it is that you're looking for. We'll go ahead and hit this reversal. You're not even gonna tell me that's not dope. Let's go ahead and mix in some dry with that though. So you could definitely use that for some kind of dark melody or whatever it is that you want to use it for. All right, guys, so that's basically what I got for you guys today. In my personal opinion, I do think that this is a very fire plugin. I'm definitely going to spend a lot more time with it because, like I said, I watched Sugar Bytes tutorial on it today. And I feel like my brain's kind of mush now because I did spend about an hour and a half watching that. But they did give you a lot of good information and they show you how to use the plugin greatly. I think this is definitely a good tool for anybody who's doing any kind of sound design or anything like that. Or if you're making like just cinematic beats or anything like that, this thing is pretty dope. And I definitely love the orbiting feature in that as well. So make sure if you guys do like this content though, you drop a whole elbow on that like button, hit subscribe and that notification bell. So every time we bring you guys a new video, you can be the first to see. Appreciate you guys' time as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
All right, guys and gals, thanks for watching the video. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so every time a new video comes out, you can be the first to know. Let me know what tutorials you want to see next in the comments, and see you next time.
Some, hit the key.